All right, everybody. Thanks for signing in again and taking a look at what we're doing. Today, we have my wonderful friend, Alberto Guzman. He's an incredible hairdresser, a really, really, really fantastic hairdresser. You should take a look at his
Thank
work,
you.
and just a delightful guy. And we've known each other for a long time in this industry, and we've always been really cool with each other. He's always been awesome. Alberto, say hi.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you so much for coming on tonight with me, Alberto. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I love being here,
Yeah.
talking to you.
I love it. Alberto is also one of the other few Puerto Ricans in this industry, so I'm always happy to have another one around.
Yes, yes.
So tell us about yourself a bit. How did you get started in the industry?
Well, I come from a family of engineers and people that believe that you have to go to school to become somebody. And I left Puerto Rico to go to school in Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, and from there I went to New York. Um, my first boyfriend came looking for me in Ohio, and then took me to New York. And from there, after another year, I met this hairdresser, and I always liked hair because in my time it was like unisex hair salons had been happening, from barbers and beauty parlors. It turned into unisex hair salons, and it was the 70s. Sorry. And I thought that was so cool. It was so much cool. The blow dryer and the vent brush, were invented, I guess.
Amazing.
And I thought it was really cool. But every time I suggested to become a hairdresser, my family would be like, "No, men don't do that." So
Wow.
I had to go to college, and I hated going to college. I tried many things, and I didn't like anything. So when I met this guy that did hair and owned his own salon, um, his salon was called Fingers Salon in New Jersey.
That's a great name.
I know. It has a plastic finger screwed into the wall holding the blow dryers.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so he said, you have so much fun in the salon when you come in. Why don't you go to beauty school and I give you a chair in the salon? And so I started like that. I went to beauty school. I told my father 3 months after I quit college, and he almost died. He was like, "You're gonna be a barber? $3 a haircut?"
Oh, my word. He was thinking old school.
Yeah, he was sitting on school, and I was like, "It's not like that here, whatever." So anyway, I was so I wanted him to be proud of me. So while I sat in the salon in New Jersey waiting for walk-ins, I would pick up magazines and look at them, and I saw that Vogue had a fashion spread that said "Hair by Orbe" for parachute, right? So I thought, oh my God, I could have my name on print, and my father would be proud of me if if he sees my name and last name, his last name on print in a magazine. So
Yeah.
that's really what motivated me. And then I went to a bar in New York on the West Village called Uncle Charlie's. I don't know if you remember, those.
No.
It was a chain of bars called Uncle Charlie's, and they played Dynasty on Wednesday nights. We used to go there to watch Dynasty.
That's kind of amazing, too. I love that.
And then it was so crowded, and this guy let me into the bar so I could ask for a drink. And his name was Robert Snow, and he was a big hair and makeup artist who was with Kramer and Kramer at the moment when Kramer and Kramer were the agency.
Yeah.
And then I just walked in, I got my drink, but then he started asking me what I do, and I was like in my early 20s.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I want to do editorial, and I'm going to be a star, and I want to do this, do that, and I want to have my name on print. And then I said, and what do you do? And he said, I do hair and makeup for magazines. And I said, I love you.
You're like, tell me more.
And I was like, really? So anyway, he actually became my boyfriend, and we were together for 3 years, and he introduced me to the Bumble and Bumble people. And I had been training with Jean-Louis David at the time. And I started at Bumble and Bumble, and because he used to sell credit to Bumble and Bumble.
Okay.
And he did. He was always on trips, doing a magazine called Taxi Magazine and other things. And he got to do American Vogue with Cordula and Irving Penn and Paulina Poleskova. It was all that time, the 80s.
Wow.
And so he took me to assist him at a photo shoot where the model was Rachel Williams.
Wow.
Yes, and then that's the first photo shoot that I was in, and I saw how he worked the wind machine and the hair was blowing, and I was like, oh my God, this is how you wear, this is how the hair looks so beautiful, on print.
Yeah.
And then we went to Australia for 7 weeks, and I assisted him for Australian Vogue. And we broke up because he wanted to be back in Australia, and he became my best friend for 10 years after that.
Wow.
Until he passed. And then that's how it started. You know, I was a bumble, and the owner, Michael Gordon, wanted to do photography, and he took me on a photo shoot where he was shooting. It was a test. He was doing a test, and I styled the whole photo shoot. You know, I did the styling, the fashion styling, and the hair.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I took Robert's clothes. He had this hippie clothes that in the clothes. He was on a trip, and I'm like, he's not gonna know. So I took his clothes. Robert was my friend that I was talking about, and so I did a hippie thing. And the girl had one length curly hair, really curly hair, that I blew dry really straight and ironed it. So I did a middle part like the hippie thing, you know. And Michael Gordon was so impressed with my idea and the styling and the whole thing that he started sending me on all the photo shoots that were calling for a hairdresser at the salon, like Parents Magazine,
Yeah.
17 Magazine, and little silly things like that.
Yeah, but that's cool.
To train me to be a hairdresser for styling.
How brilliant.
So that's how I started, yeah. Until I got my agent, and Visage was my first agent.
Visage.
And
Wow.
yes, her name was Sarah Seyfried. I dropped my book filled with test prints. You know, they were really hard. They were not like tear sheets.
Yeah.
And just to see what they would say that I needed to work on. And I was at the salon cutting hair when I got a phone call from her saying, I hope you don't mind that you don't get angry, but I sent your book out for a job.
That's amazing. How cool.
And I was like, oh my God, I need to be with these people, and she was a real great agent. And yeah, James Caliardos was with her, and
yeah,
a couple of the Max Spinell was in that agency.
Oh.
Herb Ritz was in the agency.
They were amazing people there already.
It was really a good play. Matthew Ralston, I worked with Matthew Ralston, my first big editorial, because of Vernon Jolly, who was Herb Ritz agent at the moment. Yeah, it was a different time. It was like early 90s, 1989, 1990.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So what was it like during that time in the 90s as your career started to roll? Like, what was that like for you?
Well, it was super exciting because the budgets were amazing, and then the trips were incredible. the trips were incredible. And then, I got a lot of good work right away. Like I don't think I was even ready for not the ability to do the hair for those jobs,
right?
But to handle the people, the people, the models. It was the times of the supermodels and the super photographers and the super attitude.
Yeah, true.
Yes. So I got to do Italian Vogue for six issues of Italian Vogue in 1 year.
Brilliant.
And it ended with a big fight that I had with the editor because I wasn't ready to handle those type of people. It was in France. Yet, she was jumping on the set and like touching the hair, and I would be going to get a comb, and when I came back, the model had a totally different hairdo.
No way.
And I'd be like, "What happened? Why did you touch my hair? Why didn't you tell me to change it? And that was my last Italian Vogue.
Wow. Where was that? Where did that happen?
When did that happen? Like 1994. 1994 was when I did a lot of the Italian Vogue.
Wow.
Yeah. It was good. I look at those pages with love.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. It's true. But I think that does happen. That happened to me a couple of times where I think if you're good and you're young and cute and all that, they'll start taking you for stuff straight away when you're not really ready.
Yes.
To do the hair at that level.
It happened really fast. It was so fast. And I haven't changed the hair. I would do it. For example, my first big editorial was Vanity Fair. It was Anna Nicole Smith, and it was Matthew Ralston. And
that's incredible.
I know, we were doing copies of La Dolce Vita, copying images from La Dolce Vita.
Yeah.
And I did hair that I had done 1,000,000 times before.
Sure.
It would be beautiful, glamorous hair, but the light and the point of view of the photographer made me look like I was a genius. It was like,
right.
it's light, and the point of view that the person that is shooting has is everything. It makes you or breaks you, you know.
Wow, it's so true. It's so
Yeah.
true. Every element has to be on point. You know what I mean? Like the girl's
Yes.
gorgeous, the photography's right, the lighting's right. If there's one element off, it destroys the whole thing.
Yes. You know, it could be like the best model, and if the light is a new photographer or somebody that doesn't know light very well, it's not. It's not gonna be so good. Yes.
Yeah, it's so true. And you do see the difference almost straight away. Like as soon as they start shooting, and you're like, even
Yes, I
before,
know.
sometimes you can walk in and see a light setup and go, this is going to be a disaster.
When I saw those pages out, when those pages ran, I was like, oh my God.
That must have been incredible.
I still use those pictures, you know,
I
I
don't
still use
doubt it. I don't
them.
doubt it.
Yeah.
I'm going to put them in the thing when I promote this video.
Oh yeah.
The thing to show,
Thank
because
you.
that's just incredible. Like
It was
nobody gets to
beautiful.
do stuff like that anymore.
No. I
It
mean,
just
Matthew
doesn't.
Rolson is such a good photographer also. And,
How?
you know, and like that, after that, I got to work with her Brits. You know, I have a page in one of his books. It was a prima
Really?
ballerina of New York City Ballet. And then I did also like Bloomingdale's for newspaper with Elena Christensen and her Brits in his studio in LA.
Oh
You
my
know, and
God.
they would come to me, and I was so young, and so like, oh
Yeah,
my God, her is talking to me, you know, and
that's
they'll
so
be
cool.
so nice. They'll be so gentle and saying like, okay, this is what I want you to do, and if I said but, they'll be like, do it for me, okay, and you'll be like, okay,
But that's really nice, actually.
okay, I'm
That's
gonna do
very
it for you.
sweet. That's
I'm
where you're
sorry.
like, fine, whatever, okay. I never met Herberts. I never got to meet him or work on a set with him or anything like that.
I had a couple of times with her, and it was like, I'm so honored to have been able to do that, to you know, with
Yeah.
such an incredible guy, you know.
Yeah. Some of the stuff that you've done is absolutely legendary. You know what I
Thank you.
mean? Like very few people have ever had. You are occupying a very rare airspace. Like not a lot of hairdressers have been able to do the things that you've done at the level that you've done them and in the time that you've done them. Do you know what I
Thank
mean?
you.
Like I
Yeah.
feel like some of that stuff now doesn't hit because I feel like the business is so different now, and
Oh my
the
God, so different.
it feels so diluted. I don't know how else to put it. It just
Well, you know, and people, I think that the young people, not just in our industry, but in general, they have this attitude of entitlement, you know,
mm,
and Instagram and all those things have elevated some people to a level without them paying their dues, you know, of
right.
doing the things that we had to do to achieve the things that we achieved. You know?
Yeah, and to work and to get to that point. That's true. There has been, in some ways, I feel like social media has done a great job of democratizing some good things, you know what I mean? And given
Yes,
access to people who perhaps would not have been allowed in the door, you know,
yes,
which is
exactly.
cool. But I also
Yeah,
feel like, unfortunately, that's also led to just a ton of garbage being put out as well too. And you're having to go, no, I still want just the good people, but
exactly.
this junk I'm not going to produce, because you have a lot of clients, I think, who maybe don't always know, will ask you for subpar work, and you're like, I don't want to do subpar work. You know what I mean? That's not what
I
I got into
know.
this for.
And so many people working with you and asking you to do things, and you know, not having any reference, you know, they don't know movies or photographers. I mean, I've
Yeah.
mentioned Herb Ritts and people don't know who he is,
That's
you know.
insane.
It's
That's
insane. It's
that's
insane. I
insane.
mean,
But
those
it's true. They don't know film. They don't know older fashion photography to be able to reference.
nothing,
And I
nothing.
remember when I was assisting, that being really driven into me, saying like, look, know your history, so that
Yes,
when someone goes, I want something that looks kind of Guy Bourdin, you know what they're talking about.
exactly.
Yeah,
And you know, something camp and simple, faster pussycat kill kill. People don't
exactly.
even know
Exactly.
that.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's so great. That's such a great reference. And you're right.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
to really know your history. Wow, that's incredible. You've done some amazing stuff. How do you, since you've been doing this for as long as you have, and that's a, you started when you were 3. I know you're very young and fabulous and beautiful. Not to, you're still gorgeous, but I mean, I do, how do you stay inspired? How do you stay still enjoying the work? I saw that you just did what looked like a really fun shoot You did something with Winona Judd, I think, recently.
When I'm right.
And then there was another one where I saw you had a ton of wigs that you were working with.
All right, that was recently in Savannah. Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
that looks really cool.
thank you. That was Savannah. That has a school for art. Is SCAT, right? It's a college, and they were working on a project that I'm not really.
Allowed to get into
not
yet?
very No, I'm not very knowledgeable of what it is for, but it's a movie they were making, and they used a trans man into woman as the actress, and they were scenes that they were duplicating, or she was supposed to be, let's say, a Marlena Dietrich in a movie, or Isabella Rossellini in Blue Velvet, and so on, different people. But then she was supposed to not duplicate the actors, but do her own thing.
Oh,
on purpose, you know.
Okay, yeah.
So we had her looking like the actress, even though she was Korean.
Yeah, but like making her over.
But it was pretty good. The light on the sets were pretty good, so it kind of worked. And it was really interesting, you know. So I mean, when they tell me to do Isabella Rossellini for Blue Velvet, I mean, I love that movie.
It's brilliant. And she's so exquisite in that film.
I know, it's so good, and you know. So we got all the wigs, and there were like 4 or 5 different things. There was somebody from the 20s or 30s, which is Marlena Dietrich, Isabella Rossellini. There was a 50s, another actress from the 50s. So we went to a house that was mid-century modern with all the 50s furniture. It was really like stepping back in time.
Wow.
And you know, so there were like 4 or 5 wigs that I had to work on to achieve each look. You know,
brilliant.
So.
It looked
Because
really
I remember my mother.
Did your mother rock a lot of wigs back in the day?
I'm like, that's how I wore my hair in 6th grade. That's easy.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, that looked really cool. So is that what's the secret then to staying inspired? Because it looks like you were like really having a good time producing gorgeous work.
Well, you know, for me, when they say 70s, I'm like, oh my God. It's such an inspiring and fun time, you know, in my life, in history. But also when they say 80s will go either way, you know, ugly or fun, you know. So each decade that I had to work on that week, it had something fun for me to remember and to think of hair-wise, you know, hair-wise and fashion-wise. Yeah. So that was easy for me to get inspired there. Otherwise, I just love fashion, you know. I love fashion and all those decades, you know, the hair. My mother was a big fashion girl in Puerto Rico, and she was a makeup artist. She had her makeup station in my bedroom, and every time at 5 a.m, she would click that mirror that had the office light, daylight, and then I would be in bed with an eye open, and I'd be like, what did she just do to that eye? That changed her whole face, you know. So and her nails and her body language, you know, she would flirt it with men and women. She was like too much.
She was a mess. I love it.
She knew how to get anything she wanted, and you know, it actually, she has a huge part of it for me to be inspired, because she did it all, and I was there watching it. So that's what inspired me mostly. That's part of why I became this hairdresser. Yeah. Even though men don't do that.
Isn't that funny? It's almost like you were just destined for it. Like, you know, from early on, you were just going straight there.
Yeah. You know, she would let me do her hair for parties, but I couldn't become a hairdresser because men don't do that.
How funny. And you're like, I'm doing it now, Mom. That's cute. I love that. So how do you see the business has changed so much. You've seen to transition. What are your impressions, and where do you see the business going in the future?
Well, I don't know if I have many positive things to say about that. Yeah, I think with all the budgets going down, and people clients realizing that they could get, I think the hair is so simple these days. Yeah. You know, it's like girls can just tie their hair back, and they want to look nice in their face, the skin, you know, the makeup, but the hair's like snatched back, and it's almost not cool if you do your hair. Yeah. You know?
Hair is an afterthought now.
It's cool if you don't wash it, and if it's dirty and you don't care about it, you know? Yeah. So that anybody could do hair these days, I think.
Yeah. If it's like,
So
especially if some girl walks in who's 20 years old and looks gorgeous, you're just like, and then that's it. Yeah.
exactly, you don't need any reference. You don't need any knowledge of old school hair to do hair, because if you do a French twist, if you mention French twist, it's like, no, we don't want a French twist. We
Yeah.
want something modern. And I'm like, yeah, I've been hearing the word modern since I started 30 years ago. Make it modern, make it
It's
modern.
so true. You're like, that's the one constant.
But
Everyone thinks it's modern. That's
yeah.
funny. It's so true.
So I think now that the clients see that they could have a hairdresser for so little money, you know, they they will just continue paying that money, and the money that they pay now, it's not enough
Yeah. No, it's
for
true.
us
It's so true too.
to live just doing that,
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I know a lot of people who've dropped out of the business because they're like, and I don't know what these kids coming up are doing or thinking or wanting, because I'm like, why? I
Get
don't
into
get
the
it. Yeah, like the
get
only things I
started
can
now.
agree
Yeah.
with. Oh, sorry, what was that? Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, that I think that's what you're saying, that for someone to say this is what I want to do as my career now,
Hmm.
I don't know what. Well, you know what? They have no bills, no bills to pay.
I love it. That's awesome. Cool. Enjoy your can of tuna fish again. Um, for dinner. Yeah, but no, I do think it's interesting that I feel like we've been on this look for a long time. That nothing has been going on for a long time, and no look stays that way forever. You know, and I think eventually the pendulum swings the other way, and that's
Yeah,
going to cost clients money, and that's going to demand that a lot of people who came in at this time and didn't have to learn those hardcore old school skills are going to have a real problem when the
yeah,
pendulum goes back.
that's what I think too. I
Yeah.
think when it comes to for them to do something that demands some kind of training, and old school
Skill.
hairdressing, they're not gonna know what it is.
No.
Maybe they'll turn on YouTube and
True. YouTube
and
University
learn,
is great, isn't it? But like
but
just as an example, the job that you just did with all those wigs, if you got one of those kids to do that, they'd be like, they wouldn't know. They wouldn't
it
know.
took it took a long time for me to even though I was around when some of those hairdos happened, it
Hmm.
took a long time for me to train my eye and my hands to make it look good for photography,
Yes.
you know, and and to make it work, and to get the photographer that had the good light
Yeah, you're right.
at the same time.
You're
Yes.
absolutely right. But I think on every intersection in this industry, people have to expect better. I think because it's been so easy for so long, even
Yeah.
agents will take on artists that really are not up to par yet. Or you know what I mean? Clients will hire artists that are not really up to par yet. And it's just sort of like, and it's okay because there's nothing. But when that swings back around, and I feel like, how much longer can we have nothing here?
I know. I mean, it's like, what's gonna come next? Well, right now, I think it's gonna be like a bubble, clear bubble over your head,
Exactly.
like a
Exactly.
fish tank, so that you can breathe,
And look
not get any
fabulous.
diseases.
I love it. I love it.
You
If
can
it
shake your
true,
head.
we're all going to be walking around our own individual fish tanks until this pandemic.
Yes.
So crazy. It's incredible.
Insane.
Wow. Man. Well, Alberto, I have to say, I have been a huge fan of yours for a very long time, and
Thank
I
you.
love, love, love your work.
Thank you very much.
And I think you're a wonderful person to boot.
Thank you so much. You're so sweet.
So thank you so much for
You've
doing.
always been very sweet to me.
We've always been cool with each other. I just feel like, and just again to touch on there, I feel like, and this might, I don't know how people are going to take this, but I feel like there's not that many Latinos in the industry, right? Very few. I
Mhm.
mean, you're the only other Puerto Rican that I know of, really. I feel like that's
Yeah.
that. But I was always like, man, like honestly, like the Brits, the French, or whatever, they always look out for each other. They always book
Mhm.
each other on jobs. They always help each other out. And I was like, the few Latinos that I met are not cool like that. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like there's
You
a
know,
couple of Puerto Rican makeup artists that have hooked me up. And there's Victoria Sanchez Lincoln. Do you remember her? She used to be over at she's a stylist and is
yeah.
wonderful. And she's always been good like that. But most
Well,
people,
do you know that I worked at the Orbe salon at one point. I worked at Orbe, and when I went to get hired, the manager at that moment, I'm not gonna say her name. didn't want to hire me through my portfolio. So when I was walking out of the salon, that this is when he opened at the Elizabeth Arden building.
I remember that.
The door. He says, "Wait a minute, hold on, let me look at your book." And he saw my book, and he says, "This." He said, "This is how I want women to walk out of my salon." You know.
Wow.
And he hired me. He hired me over the decision of the manager. And I don't think I was ever on a good side because the manager of he hired me over the decision. And I think Cubans always help each other out.
Yeah.
I think they're really cool.
That's true.
Hired me. He was really nice to me, and gave me the opportunity to work at that salon, which was amazing. And unfortunately, he's not with us any longer. But there was another photographer that was Puerto Rican. What was his name? Charles Tracy.
Okay.
Charles Tracy was his name. He was very short, Puerto Rican. He lived in the West Village, and he told me this joke one time. He says that there was this boy selling crabs, huelles, right? And he was like, Puerto Rican crabs. And somebody stopped him and said, "How do you know they're Puerto Rican crabs?" He says, "Because every time one of them is trying to get out of the bucket, the rest of them pull him down."
That's hilarious. I love it. Oh my God.
And I thought, when he told me that joke, I was like, oh my God.
That's so funny. Oh my God, that's so funny. I love it. I'll have to look him up.
Yeah, he passed now, but he was before my time, I think 80s or maybe even 70s. Wow. He was a big photographer. And I met him at the end. He moved from Puerto Rico to New York when he was very young, and he could not find his birth certificate. He was having a really hard time. And my mother worked at the governor's office in Puerto Rico, and she was well connected. And going like, you see this joke? And she found him his birth certificate.
No kidding.
Yes.
Wow. Your mom was a miracle worker, huh?
She was. Her name was Milagros.
I love that. That's actually very funny. That's my aunt's middle name. That's really funny. I like that. Yeah, no, that's true. That is pretty cool. You're right. Cubans are good like that because every time I would see Orbe, like at Pier 59 or whatever, he was so cool. We didn't know each other, but I think there was the thing where he knew I was Latino, so he would come over and just say hi and be like, "Hey, so how's things going? How's work going for you?" Blah, blah.
Well, and what a person to come say hi, because he was like the best of the best, at that time, and he was so humble like that.
Yeah. And also I assisted Orlando, who's also a Cuban, and he was very, very good to me.
Love him. I was in charge at Bumble and Bumble to put all the tear sheets of the hairdressers that were crediting Bumble on the wall, the big editorial wall. And it was all Orlando Pita for me because I was his #1 fan. He was so amazing at that time. And he would come into the salon to do a demonstration in all Gautier outfits. And I did everything, everything to call up his attention, and he never even I was like, oh my God, I gotta get him. He's amazing.
I love it. You're like, I still love you. It's fine. But it's true. Like Zoolander and up at the shows. He'd come backstage like in all Martin Margiela or whatever, like and just looking incredible. You're like, all right.
Still today, he's genius. I mean, he's such an amazing hairdresser.
Yeah, I love that. I really, really consider myself wildly fortunate that I got to assist him and learn. Yes. He's the one that got me into the industry, and learning from him was like going to Harvard for hair. It was incredible. Yeah, it was incredible.
Amazing. I mean, he thought of things that no one could think of. It was like engineering something. I heard someone told me once that he would have a notepad next to his bed and his nightstand, and he would like wake up and write something down, and that he was living, breathing, eating, and doing hair.
Yeah, amazing. No, that's awesome. I guess that's what it takes, though, if you're going to operate at that.
Yeah, to be that kind of level.
Yeah, to be like living it all the time.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Alberto, thanks again for doing this for me.
Thank you so much for asking me to. Yeah, and so nice to see you.
So nice to see you too. Are you kidding me? I love you, dude. This is great.
Thank you.
I can't wait for everyone to get to know you too, because honestly,
thank you.
For me, this whole thing is about showcasing people, not just whose work I love, but who I like as people as well.
Thank you very much.
No, it's awesome. Thanks for doing it. I'll see